This is a true fact about Oklahoma, and even today, people argue over whether the place ever really existed. There was once a town in Beaver County called Texola No. 2. Not to be confused with Texola near the Texas border, this one was inland, smaller, barely a dot on early maps. It was founded in the 1920s as an oil boom town. Dozens of wells, a small schoolhouse, 2 general stores, and a population of around 300. But by the late 1940s, it was already dying. Wells dried up. Families moved on. Here's the part that makes people uneasy. By 1952, Texola No. 2 vanished from official records, not just dissolved, erased. The post office was decommissioned. Maps from the 1930s showed it clearly. But by the 60s, new survey maps showed empty terrain. Just a blank patch of scrubland and prairie. No buildings, no roads. But people still see lights out there. Ranchers say they've heard voices on windless nights. More than one delivery driver swears they took a wrong turn, ended up on a paved road with abandoned mailboxes, and then couldn't find the road again. The weirdest part? The town's school records still exist. Names, grades, attendance logs. Up through 1956, 4 years after the town was gone. No one knows who kept teaching there, or who was still attending.
This story was sent in by a guy named Matt. He was doing a land survey out near an old gas lease in Oklahoma. He said, if they ever tell you to leave a site immediately, don't ask why, just go. I'm a field surveyor. I don't drill. I don't work the rigs. I map the land. Measure boundaries, flag markers. Pretty boring stuff until last fall. I got assigned a reassessment job near Woodward, Oklahoma, on a decommissioned gas lease from the 80s. Mostly overgrown brush and scrub oak. The kind of place where you're more likely to see a rattlesnake than another person. My job was to walk the edge of the original site, mark corners with GPS, and make sure there were no new surface disruptions. Took the usual gear, map tablet, flag tape, water, and a radio for check-ins. About 2 hours into the walk, I spotted something weird through the brush. A metal hatch. It was about 4 feet wide, circular, bolted to a concrete ring, half buried in weeds. At first, I thought it was an old septic tank access, but when I got closer, I saw it had industrial markings. Some kind of faded serial number stenciled onto the steel and a rusted lever that had clearly been forced open recently. The hatch wasn't sealed. It was cracked open an inch. I crouched and looked inside. Just darkness. Cold air leaking out. No ladder, no light, just a black void. I radioed it in. Found a sealed unit, coordinates uploaded now. The response was immediate. Confirm, is the hatch open? I hesitated. Yeah, slightly. There was a pause. Then a second voice. Someone from management, not field ops. That site was decommissioned and capped. If it's open, leave immediately. Do not engage, return to truck and await further instructions. The voice was firm, not panicked but sharp. I asked if someone was coming to inspect. They just repeated, leave the site. Now. So I did. I flagged the spot with pink tape and hiked back through the brush to the truck. Took me about 30 minutes. By the time I reached the dirt road, a white company SUV was already waiting. 2 guys in plain coveralls stepped out. No badges, no name tags. One of them took my GPS tracker and asked for my exact walking path. The other asked if I had touched the hatch. No, I said, just looked inside. They nodded, then told me to head home. Full pay for the day, no need to upload anything. Later that night, I got a call from the company. They said the job was complete. No follow-up required. My report was marked filed and closed. Which was weird, because I never filed it. Out of curiosity, I returned to the site a week later, off the books. Just wanted to see if it had been sealed. The flagging tape was gone. So was the hatch. Not sealed, gone, like it had never existed. I walked the area 3 times. No disturbed soil, no concrete, no bolts. But about 10 feet from where it should have been, I found something wedged under a bush. A piece of red plastic. The corner of a field badge. It was mine. I'd clipped it to my vest when I arrived that day. I didn't even realize it was missing. The edge was melted. Back at home, I looked up the original lease paperwork. Most of it was vague. A few things stood out. Multiple service entries in the 1980s marked "Incident Contained." No details, no initials. I also found an archived internal memo from 1992. Do not authorize surface crews past marker 12. Site integrity cannot be guaranteed post-venting. I was near marker 12 when I found the hatch. A few days later, a sealed envelope arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a single photo. Grainy, taken from above. Me, standing by the hatch, head tilted down, looking inside, and behind me, something else, long, thin, unclear in the photo, but standing right behind me. I don't do solo surveys anymore, and I don't ask questions when they say, "Leave." This story came from a woman named Kelly who grew up near a rundown drive-in just off Route 283. She said it's been shut down since she was a kid, but some nights the screen still lights up. There's an old drive-in about 10 miles outside of Cheyenne, Oklahoma. The Sunset 6. Big gravel lot, 2 concession stands, 4 light poles, and a single massive screen that tilts a little too far left. It officially closed in 2005. Power issues. Equipment failure. No one bought the land, and over time, weeds took over. The sign out front still says "Coming soon, Shrek 2," like it's stuck in time. My friends and I used to sneak in during high school to drink or make out or whatever. Just a creepy spot to hang out. But even back then, people said the same thing. Don't be there after 2 a.m. I thought it was just a local myth. The screen plays on its own, people said. Only one car ever parks, no sound, just silence. It wasn't until last summer that I found out it wasn't a myth. I was home visiting my parents, couldn't sleep one night, so I went for a drive. Around 1:45 a.m., I passed the old lot. The screen was lit, pure white at first, then a flicker of gray. It wasn't a projection beam, just light coming from the screen itself. I pulled in, thinking maybe someone was filming something. No cars, no crew, just the glowing screen and total silence. Then I saw a flash, like a reel, jumping. A scene appeared, black and white. No title card, looked like an old silent film. A man walking through a cornfield. He looked directly at the camera every few seconds. His face was pale. The footage was shaky. No music, no narration, just the film looping. I sat there for 5 minutes, trying to convince myself this was some art student project or a prank. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The man in the movie. He wasn't in old clothes. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, a modern watch. His hair was damp, like he'd been sweating or caught in rain. This wasn't an old movie. It was new footage, just made to look old. I threw my car into reverse. That's when the screen went black for 1 second. Then a new scene started. This time, it was an overhead shot of a car entering a gravel lot. My car, me, from above. I stopped breathing. The image zoomed slowly, jerkily, toward the windshield. My headlights flickered in sync with the film. The whole screen glowed like it was alive. Then the shot changed again. Now it was the man from before. But this time, he wasn't in a field. He was standing behind my car. I spun around, no one there. I slammed it into drive and peeled out. When I got home, I didn't sleep. The next day, I told my dad. He nodded, but he didn't act surprised. He said, "That place was always strange. Your uncle swore he saw himself on that screen once." I asked him what he meant. He said one night in '91, my uncle parked there with his girlfriend, and the screen played footage of their argument from 5 minutes earlier, shot from outside the car. She never spoke to him again. I drove by again the next week, this time during the day. The gravel was undisturbed. No tire marks, no footprints. But in the center of the lot, where I'd parked, there was a concession ticket stub, Sunset 6th, dated the night I was there. Time stamped 2:04 a.m. I never left the car. And that theater hasn't sold tickets in 18 years. This story was sent in by a man named Travis. He lives in a small town outside Norman, Oklahoma. He said this happened during a tornado warning, but what scared him most wasn't the storm overhead. We had tornado warnings all day. Sirens went off around 6:30 p.m., and most of the town headed to the public shelter behind the elementary school. It's nothing fancy, just a big concrete room underground with a steel door and folding chairs. I'd been in it a dozen times before. That night, there were about 20 of us. Families, couples, one elderly guy with a portable radio, and one man I didn't recognize. He was already sitting when I got there. Jeans, heavy boots, thick tan jacket, hood up, just staring straight ahead. Didn't say a word. The storm above was loud, hail hitting like gunfire. You could hear the wind screaming through the vents. Someone near the door was updating the group every few minutes. Touchdown near Blanchard. Looks like it's shifting north. Couple of trailers gone south of here. After about 40 minutes, things calmed down. The radio said the main cell had passed. Everyone stood up to stretch. We were all ready to go, except for him. The man in the jacket didn't move. Someone joked, "Hey buddy, all clear up there." He didn't respond. Another guy said, "Storm's gone. You good?" That's when he finally spoke. Software even, no emotion. "They're still walking around up there." Everyone went quiet. "What do you mean?" a woman asked. He didn't look at her. He just said, "They don't like to be seen." Waited till they stop. Then nothing. A few people chuckled nervously. One mom whispered to her daughter. Someone asked if he was feeling okay, but he just sat there, staring at the far wall. People started leaving. One by one, families headed up the stairwell and out the door. Some looked back, but no one said anything else to the man. I was the last one to go, and I don't know why, but something about the way he said it kept me rooted at the top step. So I waited, just for a minute, and I listened. I didn't hear wind, I didn't hear rain, but I did hear something else, crunching. Like footsteps on gravel, slow, steady, circling, not on the stairs, above. I peeked through the open door. The schoolyard was empty, sky clearing, trees still. But I swear I saw shadows moving between the streetlights, thin, slender, not human. I slammed the door shut and went back down. The man hadn't moved. I asked him, "What are they?" He didn't answer, just stared. I stayed another 20 minutes. Nothing changed, no more noise above. Eventually, I worked up the nerve to leave. I ran to my car and drove straight home. Didn't sleep. The next day, I drove back to the shelter to check on him. The room was empty, no chairs, no trash, nothing. I asked the school staff if they'd seen anyone matching his description. They said the shelter had only opened for 45 minutes. They logged 17 people. No one matching what I said, no man in a jacket, no one stayed behind. They even showed me the security camera. Everyone filed in, everyone left, except I wasn't in the footage. Neither was he, just an empty room with flickering lights. And one frame, just one, where something tall and thin passed by the stairwell door. It looked like it stopped to stare in. I don't use the shelter anymore, even during warnings, because the next time I hear something walking around up there, I don't think I'll get back out.